YouTube family, what's good with you? It's your boy 2A in LA, and as always, fam, anything I say in this episode, prior episodes, and future episodes, it's just my personal opinion. Don't take it as fact, don't take it as law. Always do your own homework and come up with your own conclusions. Right about now, fam, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and tap that like button for your boy. If you're new to the channel, I want to say come on in, welcome. I'm going to ask you to go ahead and subscribe. I think you are going to enjoy the content. And if you don't, look, fam, no harm, no foul. You can always unsubscribe later. And if you're an existing supporter of the channel, fam, I appreciate you more than you can possibly imagine. So look, fam, I wanted to do a quick video on this. You know, fam, for the most part, I stay away from politics on this channel. I feel like there's enough divisiveness out there where we really don't need to, dive into those waters. I think there needs to be a lot more coming together than focusing on the things that we don't agree on. But I feel an obligation sometimes that, if somebody watches my video, an outside chance, somebody watches my video who doesn't know anything about guns and they're, like me, spent a lot of their lives walking around buying into the theory of gun control simply because they're uninformed and haven't given it very much thought. I feel like every now and then I need to do a video to kind of educate. And, and I always get hit up every time there is a mass shooting, and there have been a lot in the media lately. I'm thinking about Nashville specifically recently, and then closer to home out here in Monterey Park not too long ago. There was a mass shooting. Inevitably, people use this as an opportunity to start lobbying for gun control, fam. And quite frankly, it's a little silly. I mean, gun control on its surface. Now, there are some gun control measures that I think are reasonable, that, violent felons shouldn't have easy access to firearms through legal channels. They do have easy access anyway, just through illegal channels, but we shouldn't make it easy for them to just go into a store and pick up one. And so that makes sense to me. Background checks make sense to me, but most of the gun control that does anything is really already in place for the most part. And so now, when you hear people scream gun control, I have come to realize that it is really not solution-based. It is really about something that they can run on, something that their political opponents don't agree on, and they can tug at the heartstrings of Americans who see this tragedy and want to do something. And the thing that sounds easy is another gun law. But it doesn't work like that, fam. It's silly. I see people blaming the gun manufacturer. I'm like, well, people go out there and drunk drive and kill people in higher numbers than are the case relative to gun deaths, but I don't hear people saying, oh, we need to ban alcohol. I don't hear that. I don't hear people saying, oh, we need to ban automobiles. I don't see people saying, oh, they need to install some kind of breathalyzer that you have to blow into when you get in your car, or it won't start. I don't hear these nonsensical arguments, but anytime there's some kind of gun violence, we want to blame the gun instead of looking at the underlying problem. And in 90% of the news stories that I read, that I watch, there is no context to anything. We have something like, 200, 300 million people here in the United States. We've got over 400 million guns. So more guns than people, more guns than automobiles. Yet gun deaths make up approximately 30,000, 40,000 deaths a year. So in terms of the amount of deaths on a percentage basis relative to the population, it's minuscule. So, but based on the clamor, you don't get that. And then if you dig a little bit further and you say, okay, well, look, $40,000, 40,000 deaths annually is still a lot. We shouldn't just ignore it. Okay, I'm fine with that. Okay, but then let's talk about that 30 to 40,000. Over 60% of those deaths are suicides. So they're not public hazard issues. The vast majority of all gun deaths in our country, over 60%, are suicides. And so what are we doing about the mental health in our country? And if you think, oh, well, if we got rid of guns, we wouldn't have suicides. No, because suicides using other means are also a pretty large, significant number of the cause of deaths here in the United States. So what we need to be thinking about when these people are killing themselves in large numbers, when they're going in and doing these mass shootings, what are we doing about addressing the mental health gap in this country? And why is there no focus on that? Why do people think, oh, we can just solve everything if we add some kind of additional gun law? We ban this type of gun or that type of gun. I also don't understand the fixation on the AR-15. It's a semi-automatic gun, just like a handgun. And if we're talking about mass shootings and public kind of, more public violence, most mass shootings are done with handguns. Over 80%, I believe. So then why are we so fixated on the AR-15? It seems to me, if you were wanting to stop mass shootings, you would want to eliminate the gun that's used almost 80% of the time, which are handguns. But you don't hear that because they know they can't do that. It's easier if we can just blame the big scary gun when it's not the gun of mass shooters' choice. And so, again, there's no context. You don't hear this in mainstream media. I should also say that 35, so I said 60-something% of gun deaths every year are suicides. The other 30 to 35 are in very condensed, predictable areas. They are inner cities where people live on top of one another, where there is little access to quality education, where there is little access to upward mobility, where there's little access to health care. And in these kind of areas, what springs up? Drugs, gangs, etc. And so a lot of the violence that you see, the other 30-some% that you see are in these kinds of areas, in very condensed, predictable areas throughout the United States. But again, you don't hear that in mainstream media. They just want to throw up another gun law as if that's addressing what's causing this problem in the inner city. And most of these convicted felons and things like that, they're not going down to the local gun store and buying the gun. They're picking up the guns in the black market and picking them up illegally. So again, you adding another gun law that's going to affect law-abiding citizens. It's not doing anything for the criminals. If anything, it's emboldening them because now they have access to guns and firepower that the general public doesn't have, which makes us more vulnerable. And so again, if you think we shouldn't have guns in the country, that's fine. I don't agree with that, but that's a reasonable thought. Just don't buy in that the solution to our problems are another gun law or more gun control, because we've got more and more and more gun control on the books. We've got thousands and thousands of gun control laws on the books, and obviously they aren't doing the job, right? And one more is not going to do it either until we start addressing the mental health crisis that we're having in our country, and still we start addressing the wealth gap in this country and lack of access to upward mobility for people, then we're going to continue to have these problems. And so those are my thoughts just quickly on the Nashville shooting and the Monterey Park shooting, they are tragedies. My heart and prayers go out to all of those families. The same way it will go out to any victims of senseless violence, regardless of what the tool was used to implement that violence, whether it's a fist or a knife or a gun or a car. To me, it doesn't matter the means. What matters is the reason for the violence. And still, I can't take any of you politicians seriously until you start addressing that. Until you start talking about that. To me, you're being disingenuous and insincere. That's just my personal opinion. I don't believe these politicians are that stupid or dense. I think most of them are intelligent and smart, and they know what they're doing. They just don't care. They just don't care. And so I care about you, fam. I care about you. So I just wish all of you guys to be safe out there. Take every precaution to protect you, to protect the lives of your loved ones. All right? That's it for this episode, fam. Until next time, as always, take care of one another and peace.